Welcome to the Sports Report podcast with Ben, Ricky, and Jalen. We cover trending and popular topics surrounding the world of professional and on-campus sports. With each of us having a unique sports background, we give different perspectives and insight on the current climate of sports news. And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome back to the Sports Report pod. Class is in session. I'm Ben alongside Jalen and Ricky, and today we have a special guest with us. We have Daniel Gebar. Daniel, how's your day going?
My day's going pretty good. How about you guys?
It's been pretty
phenomenal.
good.
Yeah, pretty good, bro. Pretty good. I'm glad we got you on the pod, bro. I know you've been doing your thing, especially on YouTube and TikTok. I definitely been peeping that, and you know you're one of my good friends. Well, we started when we know each other since middle school, right?
Yeah, middle school, 8th grade.
Yes, sir. And he was always one of those guys where I always value his opinion, whether that's talking sports or anything else. Cause
awesome.
A lot of people be at school think they know sports, but they don't. But he was definitely one of those guys that had a good opinion about all different types of stuff. The first question I wanted to get into with you was just your involvement in sports growing up. I know, but a lot of people probably don't know. You want to get into how you came up in sports and what you did?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much I just grew up in a household with a bunch of older brothers. I'm the youngest of like 8, so everyone in this house watched sports. We all grew up Laker fans and stuff. So just like waking up and seeing, sports games on the TV, football, whether it's football or basketball, even soccer at some point. And then, all my life in like elementary, middle school, even high school, I always wanted to play sports and stuff. So just more so, getting involved and watching it with people and stuff like that. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, we got a big Lakers fan too. Ben, he's a big Lakers fan. We're gonna get on the Lakers later, but that's gonna definitely be a good conversation for sure.
Yeah, transitioning over. What's up, Daniel? It's Jalen here. For any listeners who want to check out Daniel's stuff, it's at Kareem Gebar on TikTok and YouTube. Go check his stuff out. After just doing a quick scroll on your YouTube and TikTok, awesome stuff up there. When did you start making videos, and what inspired you to start making content?
I initially started making videos around I want to say 2021, the beginning of 2021. I started making videos first on YouTube, and then I wanted to transition into another app. And then I downloaded TikTok and started scrolling on there and seen a lot of other sports pages, so I decided to make one myself. And what motivated me is just honestly seeing feedback. Like I would just my first couple of videos did pretty good, and I got a lot of engagement. So just seeing other people's feedback and like being able to just discuss anything, any topic with anyone from anywhere around the world was pretty dope. So I wanted to keep going from there.
That's awesome. What do you think has been the difference between doing your stuff on YouTube and doing your stuff on TikTok? I know in your YouTube you got a lot of commentary on there, a lot of takes with some phenomenal visuals, and on TikTok it's a lot of clips and stuff like that. So what do you think is the biggest difference in your approach to doing both?
The biggest difference to me, I would say, is on YouTube, I think people's attention span is a lot longer. So dropping videos about, like commentary and wanting to like teach people or people who just want to, engage in the same topics, it's
right.
kind of easier to find those kind of people on YouTube. And then on TikTok, it's more like you got to have to mix in like a comedy side as well as like a, involving comedy and sports together, kind of like quick videos to get engagement. So I think getting people engaged is completely different on both of those apps.
Right. Any of your favorite content creators right now that you draw inspiration from? Like who you watching right now that you like?
I've always I used to watch Mike Korzimba.
Yeah.
I think he was him, Jimmy High Roller was pretty good. And then honestly Flight Reacts, that's probably like my favorite content creator of all time. He's super funny, so
I was a huge Mike Korzimba guy too.
Yeah, he is.
Big Mike Korzimba guy, big gesture guy. The hype house, the 2 hype house.
Yep.
Yeah. High Roller, he's actually from Washington. He's from Vancouver, Washington. So he's.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he went to Wazoo I think he went to Wazoo for track.
Yeah, I know he went to Wazoo. I didn't know he was from here though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Well, the main videos that I seen when you were coming up, the Kyrie video one on TikTok, which like has over 1 million views, and then the Dame video that he reposted it right on his Instagram.
On his Instagram story, yeah, he did.
Yeah, so take us through that. Like, how are you feeling when you dropped those videos, and like, how was your emotions when all that just came around?
Yeah, so it was just a random night. Kyrie was like streaming on Twitch, and I kind of was screen recording it, and I just found parts that I liked, and I ended up posting it on TikTok. And then I posted it very late at night. It was like 11 p.m., so I had went to sleep, and I woke up the next morning, and it had like a couple 100,000 views, which that had never happened on my page before. So I was like super shocked. And then like as time kept going, like I think it was the next day, it ended up hitting like 800K, and I was like, there's no way this is gonna hit 1 million. Then it just kept going and it kept going, and eventually it hit 1 million. And then like it was like a month later, I think a month and a half later, someone randomly commented on my TikTok and was like, Damian Lillard reposted your video. And I thought it was a more recent video that I posted, so I went on his story. At first, I didn't believe it. I like put laughing emojis when I responded to the guy, and then I actually checked it, and I seen it, and I was like, yo, what the hell? That's crazy that he actually reposted it. The fact that, you know, he could just be scrolling and see a video of mine or anyone that makes content like me is pretty dope. So, yeah, that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, that's super cool. Did he text you or anything, or like or say anything to you, or he just reposted it?
Nah, he just posted the video, and I just seen like my watermark, my username on there, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's dope. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Now we're gonna transition. So you're a Lakers fan. I'm also a Lakers fan. Trade deadline, we did not do anything. Buyout market, we added Spencer Dinwiddie. How are you feeling about the Lakers right now?
Oh man, I mean, in February we're kind of rolling. We're 6-1 in February, including wins against teams like the Knicks and the Celtics. You know, without LeBron and AD against the Celtics, I'm pretty surprised on how well this team is playing. I think they're starting to figure it out. Adding Spencer Dinwiddie was pretty good, especially having them in the second unit when, you know, D'Lo and Austin Reeves are kind of off the game, or when they're on. I think his passing and his shooting it's going to work pretty well with this team. I think more so of wanting to get Vando and Reddish back, you know, kind of help with our perimeter defense. I think that's always been an issue this whole entire season. And then figuring out who actually needs to play, which, you know, when we reach the playoffs and stuff, I think figuring out who actually needs to play and who needs to sit out is going to be very key for this team later on. So I feel pretty good about this team.
And Ben knows all about criticizing, or not criticizing, but taking a look at who needs to play and who doesn't need to play. The countless Torian Prince rants on this pod, our listeners are very familiar.
Man,
Yeah,
Torian Prince, he's a good role player, but he's a bench player. Darvin Ham's obsession with him, starting him for the first 50 games of the season, was crazy.
And he's been playing better, yeah. Now that he's kind of he's
bench.
defined that role. He's been pretty good.
It should have been Rui or Vando starting the whole year.
Yeah, I think at first it should have been Vando, but now the way Rui's playing, I think he should definitely keep his starting spot. I mean, yeah, Torian Prince, man, that's been a crazy topic this whole entire season. At some point, he was playing the third most minutes on our team and the most minutes of his career. And I think he's like 32 or 33. So, yeah, I don't know what Darvin Ham was doing there, but I think he's got it down now. So, hopefully that changes.
Yeah, I think they're finally figuring it out. Do you think the Lakers have enough to where they can move up to a top 6 seed, or do you think they're going to be in the play-in?
My biggest thing is how many games can this team win when LeBron or AD decide to sit out? They've been pretty healthy this year, and I mean, as of recently, they are winning games without both of them. So I think that, to me, is a big X factor. If they can win a couple games when they decide to rest, I think this team could definitely be the 6th seed, especially with the way the Kings and the Pelicans have been kind of playing. The Pelicans have been pretty good recently, but the Kings have been struggling as of recent. So, and they're the 8th seed right now. So it depends on how the Pelicans in Dallas plays, but I can definitely see this team being the 6th seed at some point this season.
Jalen, do you want to add anything about your Kings?
Yeah, Daniel, I'm a Kings fan from the Bay Area, and it has just been some brutal basketball. It all started with that Pistons loss at home. I talked about that on the last show.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fox at the beginning of the season was just balling out. Him and Sabonis had really good chemistry, as they always have since he got to Sacramento. But now that Fox has kind of regressed back to the mean, and he's still playing at all-star caliber level, but they're just not getting production from anyone else besides their big two. Monk has been really good the whole season in his role, but when Fox goes cold, it's hard for them to score. And no, like you said, totally. They've just been on a skid recently. It's been tough for me.
Yeah. They've had a lot of blowout losses this year. Something I've noticed. It's kind of inconsistent. It's like they will either be a really good team or they will get blown out by a team that they shouldn't have gotten blown out.
It's
by.
a night-to-night thing. You're exactly right, and that's what's so hard. Because last year, I feel like it wasn't like that. Like Mike Brown got them prepared for every matchup, and yeah, they would struggle, especially on defense, which they're still having trouble with this year. They kind of struggle with perimeter defenders. Sabonis does a lot of the hard work down low. But yeah, just you never know what you're going to get, and that's the worst as a fan when it's inconsistent. At least if, your team is constantly improving and steadily, looking better and better each week, that's one thing, but when you just don't know what you're going to get, especially when expectations are high after you make the playoffs, it's brutal.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Ricky, do you have anything to add on the Western Conference being so tight?
We did talk about it last week how I only personally believed that the Pelicans were going to drop. I didn't know the Kings. I thought the Kings were going to honestly pick it up. They still have a chance to pick it up later on after the All-Star break. Yeah, definitely. But I didn't put into account the Kings. The way the Kings are playing, I do see the Lakers possibly going up in at least the 6th seed. But as far as the 1 through 5, I think it's solidified. The Timberwolves just scare me. I don't know, but they have to be top 5, I think. But yeah, I do see the Lakers going up. I like how they've been playing lately, and just how you guys mentioned, Rui's been getting more minutes, so he's been doing pretty good. But it just all really determines on health and who's going to be available.
And I know we harp on this every week, but the West is so stacked. Out of this 1 through 10 seeds, all of them in their last 10 are above 500, except for the Nuggets, who are 5-5, who the Kings just got a huge win over in Denver. But besides that, every single one of these teams are over 500 in their last 10 games. Just ridiculous how good the talent is in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I think going back to Rui, last night, Rui and AD became the first Lakers duo to have 35-plus in a game since Kobe and Shaq. So in the regular season, LeBron and AD did do it in the playoffs. But Rui's finally getting consistent minutes, which I've been harping for all season. There was times in the season where Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince were getting significantly more minutes than him, and just didn't make sense to me. But Darvin Ham seems to finally be getting the rotation right, and we still do have a lot of injured players right now, so throwing them back in, it'll be interesting to see how Ham handles his rotation. Transitioning to Kobe's statue revealing, what do you think about the unveiling and how he's going to get 3 statues?
I thought the fact that he's getting 3 statues was crazy, and in a good way. I thought that was amazing. They're doing, I think the first one was the 81, pose when he scored 81 against the Raptors, and then I like how they honored his daughter Gigi in one of the statues, so I can't wait till they unveil the other 2.
What do you think the pose for the 24 one will be?
I think it should be like a fade. I think that would be the best one. Is it's iconic post fade. So if they can do that, that would be dope. When they had Beat Boston the second time, and he stood up on the where the scores table is.
Yeah.
And the whole crowd was in front of him. I think those 2 poses would be great.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I've seen most fans advocating for, is one of those 2. But it's crazy. He'll be the first player to have 3 statues, and it's all with one team. It's not like someone like LeBron might end up getting 3 because he's played for 3 franchises, but Kobe getting 3 with just the Lakers is a very cool gesture and very impressive.
Definitely.
Shows how important he was to the city of LA.
Definitely.
He definitely deserves that. Transitioning on to the NBA right now. I seen you made a video on J-Dub, and I really liked the video. I enjoyed how you broke everything down. I totally agree with, the young stars right now are top of the line. We're seeing Anthony Edwards right now, they're number 1. Shea, the Thunder, they're number 2.
Changing in the guard, yep.
Yeah, it's getting good. For one, I'm gonna ask you, do you believe well, we never even thought the Thunder or the Timberwolves were going to be this good, especially this part of the season. Did you expect that coming into the season?
Honestly, I had my questions with this team because I didn't know how good Chet Holmgren would be. Coming off an injury and having to sit out a whole year, I thought it was going to take him some time to get in rhythm. But the fact that he came in right away and was averaging like 17 and is shooting very well from three and playing good defense, I think that's what really sparked this OKC team to be this good. Shea broke out last year already, so him, doing what he's doing this year, it's not really a surprise to me. But like you said, I made that video about J-Dub, but like even just watching him this year, I'm still surprised by how well he's playing. Their bench is kind of the only reason why I didn't have them this high is because their bench, it's till this day, it's been very questionable. I had them around, like I said, the highest they can be is fourth, which I still think they will end up either being like the third or fourth seed just because of how well the Clippers and I think the Nuggets are going to play after the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I didn't really expect them to be a top 2 seed at this point, but anywhere from like 4 to 7 is where I had them before the season started.
Yeah, I think J-Dub especially has been very important for their team. Obviously, Chet and Shea are up there too. But he had a really good rookie year. And a lot of people get into a sophomore slump, and that hasn't been the case for him. He's really emerged as a young star in this league. So the Thunder have a real good recipe that teams are going to try and copy now. They stockpiled all those picks, landed young talented players, and they still have the flexibility when a superstar comes on the market to go trade for one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what Houston is doing right now because they have all those picks from the Brooklyn trade that they made with Harden. So I think that's definitely a team to watch out for.
Yeah, you mentioned Chet, and I want to talk about that a little bit. One thing that I feel like we haven't covered as much as some other topics on this show is the Rookie of the Year race, and how close and really how deep this rookie class has kind of turned out to be. A lot of them are very, very productive starters for contending teams. In my opinion, Victor Wembanyama slowly kind of separating himself from the rest of the class. Goodness gracious, that dude is really good. I actually watched his first Summer League game, the one that wasn't good, the game right before he kind of showed everybody he was super good. But the first ever Summer League game, I had the privilege to go check that out and watch it over at UNLV in Vegas. And the size of that guy, seeing it in person, like you don't believe that. I mean, he's making NBA players look so small. And he's got the skills to do it too. He can attack vertically. He's got amazing back to the basket moves, and his interior defense is just amazing. I think he's averaging more than 3 blocks a game with a double-double, 20 points and 10 rebounds. He just had a triple-double with blocks. First rookie to do that since Spurs counterpart David Robinson back in the 90s. What do you guys think of Wembanyama's rookie campaign?
I think he's been very impressive. Spurs as a team haven't been successful, but individually he's been great. And he's not even playing a ton of minutes. I think they're kind of holding him between 28 to 30.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive. I think he's really broken off from Chet. I think Chet's the clear now second best rookie. So I think he's, as long as he doesn't get hurt the second half of the year, he's going to win Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely exceeded my expectations for sure. At first, I was leaning towards Chet just off the record, but since I seen that he could get a triple-double off blocks, I don't think he could come back from that. So I feel like definitely if he doesn't get injured, he's going to be the Rookie of the Year. You can't really argue the record now just off. I really don't. I don't think they can argue that. So yeah, I see him going Rookie of the Year for sure.
Yeah, I agree with Ricky as well. I think at first I was harping on the Thunder's record and saying that Chet should be Rookie of the Year just because of how much he's impacting a winning team.
Yeah.
And also his efficiency at the beginning of the season was a lot higher than Wemby's. And that's kind of due to what OKC has on the on the roster.
Right.
But he was shooting like 40% from three and was averaging just as much blocks at one point in the season. So I think Chet definitely had a case at some point, but the way Wemby has been playing recently, no matter how many wins the Spurs end up with, you just cannot take this award from him at this point in the season. So
I agree completely. Yeah. I think, at the beginning of the year, the Thunder knew they had a direction, going into the season. And Chet had a role. He had a clear, defined role on a winning team, and he was thriving in that role. He was getting a ton of open looks, like you said. Really successful from three. True shooting numbers are really good. Whereas Wembanyama at the beginning of the year, because the Spurs kind of didn't have any expectations, didn't have a clearly defined role, at least offensively. But now that he's kind of gotten comfortable, he's cooking.
Facts.
Yeah, there's outside of those two, there's still been so many impressive rookies this year.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller, there was a lot of questions about him going
Yes.
into the draft, and he's killing it with Charlotte now. And Jaime Jaquez kind of came out of nowhere. Brandon Podziemski from the Warriors. Derek Lively on the Mavs.
Yeah,
has been
Lively's
good.
having a great year.
So it's been a really good rookie class, and I felt like so much of the attention went to Wemby and Chet going into his rookie year since he missed last year. But there's been a lot of really good rookies. Even Scoot Henderson's starting to turn it around of late. So who besides Wemby and Chet has stood out to you?
I think Brandon Miller is standing out to me for sure. I think before the draft, a lot of people thought he wasn't NBA ready due to his ability to create a shot for himself, especially like on ball. That was definitely an issue in Alabama. So people thought, when he goes to the league, that's going to have the same issue. But you can definitely tell that he's worked on his game this year, and he's had some insane stretches. I think, forgot who they played, but before they played the Lakers, he had his career high, and he matched his career high against the Lakers. He had that 2-game stretch this year. So I think his ability to score the ball at his height is going to really help his team once they actually figure out, what their future is. So Brandon Miller is definitely standing out for me.
Jalen, do you have anyone that stood out to you?
Took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to go with Brandon Miller as well. Kind of exactly what Daniel mentioned. I personally was kind of a part of that group that was questioning Brandon Miller's physicality, especially. He was such a good slasher at Alabama, but just the frame, I was like, I don't know how well this is going to translate. He's going to be taking a lot of shots with Charlotte just because the rest of that roster is not very good. But he has really flourished, like you said, kind of diversifying his scoring ability, shooting the ball way better this month than the past couple months. So he's slowly improving. That's really what you want to see from a rookie. Not necessarily the numbers, but just the percentages and how he looks on the court, his comfortability. And Miller has taken a ton of steps. Podziemski is another guy. I actually saw him too during Summer League when I made that trip down to Vegas. And what really stuck out to me when I watched him, just in terms of eye test, was his rebounding. His nose for the ball, especially as a guard, is really good. I think he's averaging close to 6 rebounds per game in a limited role this year with the Warriors, which is super impressive since that team is lacking rebounding so much. But he's another guy. Jaquez, like you said, Ben, is balling out. And Lively, too. He's gotten such a big role for the Mavericks.
Yeah, I added Podziemski on my fantasy the other day. He got me right with a 30-piece, so I'm liking that. But I really like you guys said, Lively. I was high on Lively in the beginning of the year. Right now, it's going to be interesting to see because they just got Daniel Gafford from the Wizards, and he's playing a lot of minutes, and he's playing pretty good.
Yeah, Gafford.
So I'm not sure how they're going to implement both of them together. I haven't watched the Mavs game since they acquired Gafford, but it looks scary if both of them are going to be playing the way they have been with Kyrie and Luka. I mean, it should be good. So I think they're going to push make a run after All-Star break, definitely.
Yeah, we haven't seen Lively yet since they've gotten Gafford. He's been hurt. But once he's back, it'll be interesting who they give the starting nod to. But Dallas, after the trade deadline, getting Gafford and P.J. Washington, definitely a team to look out for the back half of this season. So we're going into the All-Star break now. Is there anything you're excited for All-Star weekend, Daniel?
The 3-point contest. Sabrina and Nisku with Steph. I'm pretty sure they're doing like a little event. I'm definitely excited for that. Just the 3-point contest in general. I think that's always one of the competitions that's always kind of stayed the same. No matter who's in it, it's always pretty competitive. And honestly, the Celebrity All-Star game is always pretty funny, so I'm waiting for that as well.
Yeah, I think that 3-point contest between Steph and Sabrina will be interesting. Ricky, who do you have winning?
I gotta go with Steph, bro. Come on. I gotta go with Steph. I mean, it's Steph.
Yeah.
It's Steph.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going with Sabrina Ionescu to win that. She's a Bay Area girl. I'm from the Bay Area. Got to stick to my roots. And she's a baller.
She could shoot. She could shoot.
She can shoot it for sure. I'm going with Sabrina. Upset.
Okay. I'm going with Steph. I mean, Steph is just unreal from three. I mean, they're both really great shooters, but I think Steph is like so competitive that he's just gonna represent for the NBA.
Yeah.
I kind of want Sabrina to win though, just
would be
for the
cool.
Twitter.
I mean,
that
just
would
for
be cool.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Clay picked Sabrina to win, so like even Steph's teammate.
Yeah, we talked a little bit off air. I think they are doing it WNBA, right?
Yeah,
line
I think
with
Sabrina
the WNBA
gets
ball.
to use her ball and her 3-point line. Steph gets to use the NBA 3 and NBA ball. So
Yeah.
it'll be who's the best at their sport. It's not going to be, okay, one's transitioning, so it's going to be harder for them.
Yeah, that's cool that it's I like how they're doing it where it's not necessarily the NBA All-Star break. It's like basketball All-Star break. Celebrate everybody in basketball and to get more fans engaged. I think it's super cool.
I agree. Is there anything anyone else wants to add?
Daniel, how'd you like the Super Bowl, bro? What's your thought? You're a Denver fan, right?
Yeah, I'm a Broncos fan.
Wow.
Well, for one, did you like the Super Bowl? How'd you like the Super Bowl?
I thought the game was great. I think these last two Super Bowls that we got have definitely been the best in recent history. Probably of the last decade. I think these last two games have been really good. But in terms of last Sunday, man, I think the Niners, that was such a winnable game, man. It's crazy that they lost, honestly. I think in overtime, their decision to, get the ball first, I could see why they did it, but I just don't agree with it. But it's just too many mistakes that Shanahan and the defensive coordinator made that game.
Yeah.
That lost in that game. So, yeah.
Yeah, going off the OT thing, there's been so much talk about that on football Twitter and football social media. What makes it worse is that I don't think that they went into the OT like, okay, we want the ball because we want the ball third. I think that they didn't know about the rule and were just like, we're going to get the ball. Whereas the Chiefs, had their set plan if they got to that point. Because I know
they would have gone for two if
exactly.
49ers would have scored a touchdown.
Like Shanahan said, I think in the press, or maybe not the press conference, but maybe the next day he was like, oh, we wanted the ball third.
Yeah. You weren't getting it third.
There's no way. There's no way that they thought they were going to get the ball. There was going to be a third possession LT. No way. Yeah. And like you mentioned with the defensive coordinator and Shanahan, I think a lot of it was on the defensive coordinator.
Well, he did just get fired.
Yes, I did see that as well. And I saw that a lot of people think that it was like putting the Super Bowl on Shanahan. Oh, Niners haven't won a Super Bowl in this many appearances. The common denominator is him. But I think he called a really good second half. But the defensive coordinator,
they were playing like prevent defense.
They got away from handing the ball off. That's for sure.
That's what my criticism of Shanahan is that's what happened in 2 Super Bowls now. Well, actually 3 because they were up by 10. The Chiefs a couple times.
Yeah.
But when he was with Atlanta, they were still pass heavy against New England as when he was the offensive coordinator. If he had run the ball, they would have won that Super Bowl. And then this last game, if he just runs the ball more in that second half, like the run was dominant when they were going with it.
Yeah, the first drive, McCaffrey was.
And then like late in overtime too. But they just, in the middle of the game, they were like, we're going to stop running the ball. And they had a bunch of 3 and outs, and that's why Kansas City was able to fight back into the game.
And the blunders on the 49ers staff, we can talk about that all we want, but that shouldn't take away from how well, I forget the Chiefs, how do you pronounce his last name? Spagnuolo. Oh my goodness. Masterclass.
He just got an extension.
Calling the perfect blitzes and the perfect point. That 4th and 4 where Brock Purdy chucks it up to Juwan Jennings and no one's there. That's because Spagnuolo called cornerback blitz on a 4th and 4, one of the most gutsy calls. He said, we're going to go down with pressure. Sent Trent McDuffie, who had an amazing game, ton of pass breakups, especially in the backfield, and got them to the win. So Spagnuolo, they just got outcoached.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about.
I think also if Mahomes hadn't won Super Bowl MVP, it would have been McDuffie or Chris Jones. They were both really disruptive in the game.
Wreaking havoc the whole game.
McDuffie was great.
And Jones was getting some pressure at certain points to where Purdy just threw it up like out of bounds.
Yeah.
And forced like key plays where I think the one in overtime where he overthrew Ayuk. Or he was like Ayuk was open and he didn't throw it.
Yeah, off to the sideline is a little corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Chris Jones pushing towards him, so he couldn't get a good throw off. And so Mahomes, I think, earned the Super Bowl MVP, but McDuffie and Jones were definitely second and third.
Yeah.
Is that all we got?
Pretty much. You got when's the next video coming out, Daniel?
I'm trying to get 2 off during this All-Star break. So hopefully, just talk about some things because we're kind of halfway through the season. So I wanted to talk about some things that have been going on first half of the season. So hopefully during the All-Star break.
And for everyone out there listening, make sure to go check him out at Kareem Gebar. That's Kareemgebar on TikTok and YouTube. Go check him out.
Yeah, and I will have the links to all your stuff on our posts. So for those listening, you could just click that wherever you're listening. And that will do it for the Sports Report pod and class dismissed.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Report podcast. Be sure to check out our Instagram at the Sports Report Pod for more content and to never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.
Score!